It's still happy hour with John Gaskins. This round's on me.
Yeah, super cool that all of the colleges in Southeast South Dakota are starting either Saturday or Thursday. In between those 2 days, we've got a lot of Friday night football, and we've got a high school game on Saturday. So I will be at Jefferson versus Harrisburg in Harrisburg for the Tiger Bowl. And Zach Borg on Friday night will be at Howard Wood Field. He's got Sioux Falls O'Gorman and Sioux Falls Lincoln. So here we go, 2026 high school football. We're going to have a lot of games for you to watch at SiouxFallsLive.com, at Midwest Sports Plus, the website and the app. Also, KSFL TV televising a game pretty much every Friday night. We got the President's Bowl doubleheader in a few weeks, and can't wait. So let's get it kicked off with one of the coaches of one of the teams in the Metro, one of the best. Sioux Falls Jefferson was a semifinalist last year, lost to Sioux Falls Lincoln in the semis. In fact, that was 2 of their 3 losses in an 8-3 campaign, and they were the only team in the state that beat the state champion, Brandon Valley. And their head coach is Eric Struck. He's in his second year after taking over for Vince Benedetto, who's, of course, now back at South Dakota State where he played. And so I'll ask you the same question I've been asking Jackrabbit coach Dan Jackson at certain checkpoints throughout the last few months. Second year, how's it different from being in charge of your program in the first year? And certainly we'd all expect it's a lot smoother. So in what ways?
Well, one, thanks for having me on, John. I think the biggest, advantage, I guess, this second year is just the familiarity with everyone, coaching staff, players, school administration, like you name it. Last year, I was trying to find my way around the building. How do I get to my classroom and all this and that? And now it's, it's like a second home. I'm here all the time. So, coaches, certain drills that were different that we did in practice and maybe what they've done in the past, they kind of understand now what that is, what that looks like, what's the tempo of that drill. Kids, same way, practice expectations, weight room expectations, like those things don't necessarily need to be said every day now. The kids just understand this is the way it is, and coming in with a different offense, it was like trying to teach a second language. Now I can just say, whatever our play is, and the kids automatically know what I'm talking about. So a lot less having to talk on my end and a lot more just getting to being familiar with the kids and building relationships and just going out and doing our thing. Yeah.
You came to Jefferson from Lincoln, where you coached back-to-back state championships with the Schaefer brothers, one with Tate, one with Brody, under Jared Fredenberg, a defensive-minded head coach. And I'm not sure you can tell me what kind of free rein he gave you to call plays, or if there were certain situations where he's the boss. But you got to be full-blown boss calling the offense last year. How was that experience for you, and how different was it, if at all?
I mean, the football part of it it's the same. I think Coach Fredenberg was awesome to work with. Yeah, he might, try to guide me in a certain way or give me some suggestions here, or maybe try to rein me in once in a while if we're getting a little too crazy. But for the most part, he just let me go and kind of establish our identity and who we were, as a tempo offense and things like that. So coming and being the head coach now, like the football part of it, been doing it for 26 years now. It's all the administrative stuff that was, obviously a lot different. The fundraising, the hiring of coaches, talking to kids, parents, organizing things, making sure we have tables set up for whatever, our fundraiser night, things like that. Just all the stuff outside of football that was way different that, honestly, I don't know if anybody would really be 100% prepared for something like that.
I know I wouldn't be, but hey, now you got all that under control, and let's talk football. We'll start with your side of the ball. You lose Daeveon Simsonsen, one of the best running backs in the state. It's a young high school. There were only 5 previous seasons, but he was the all-time career yards terror upper, and now he's at USF, just an absolute dynamo. But you do return both quarterbacks who split time And as you mentioned, you like to run a tempo offense. And Jace Unzen, explosive wide receiver, track star. So how much different or how much more effective do you feel like the offense can be now that you have most of your components back?
I think, number one, just starting with the experience at quarterback. Both Kaysen and Boston last year were young. Kaysen was a junior, Boston was a sophomore. And then you had on top of that, they have to learn, essentially their second offense during their high school career, and not really having a ton of time to learn all that, to where we've had, 2 full off seasons, essentially 2 full summers, an entire season of that. So their familiarity, their how comfortable they are with everything. It's evident just watching in practice how much quicker the ball gets out, how much more comfortable they are in the pocket, how much better they are, like as far as footwork and things go. And then on top of that, we've got guys that we can get the ball to that could do special things. I'll put our receiver core up against anybody with Jace Unzen, Tyson Tease, Montanel Jensen, and then Tyler Brusky at tight end. I think those 4 guys are all legit college-type football players that play and that play at a high level, and they're special. So we just need to get them the ball as much as we can and just let them do their thing. And I think that'll help us a lot.
Sure. The new part of this is Devonte Wilson. He's a transfer from Lincoln, and he put up some great numbers. I mean, he would average 8 or 9 yards a carry, and he would only get 8, 10, 12 carries a game, a lot of games, and especially the closer ones Lincoln would play. And so, close to 90 yards. He had plenty of games over 100. I would expect he wouldn't transfer to Jefferson unless he expects to be even more of a focal point of an offense. What has it been like to have him there?
He's added some depth to our running back room. Last year, Quentin Huddleston was Daeveon's backup, and I think he finished with around 300 or 400 yards. He's a smaller body type, really shifty, but he's really tough, really strong. And Devonte is like from a body type, kind of the opposite of Q. He's a bigger type body. So those two complement each other really well. So that gives us some really good backfield depth. And if you couple those two with our receivers, like we feel, defense is going to have to pick their poison. And if we have to run it 50 times, we got 2 guys back there that can split that load and wear down a defense and have success.
Okay. When it comes to those quarterbacks, it felt like when they were both healthy, and this is where my mind jogs, is you had Boston Bryant, who was a sophomore last year, and he would a lot of times start drives, and then Mettinger would be more the guy when you get to the red zone, closer to the goal line. Is that kind of what you're looking for again? And I guess the bigger picture is you clearly are comfortable with having 2 quarterbacks in a game every game. Why is that?
That goes back to when I coached at Washington with Coach Hermanson. Matt Hermanson was our starting quarterback and starting safety. So we needed a way to get him a break. And we had this really good young quarterback in John Hander, who we could come in and he would handle just a small part of the offense, kind of similar to what we did last year, kind of a 2 tight end type of deal. That was just to give Matt kind of a break. In this instance, like they're both very good football players. So how do you keep them both involved without maybe necessarily upsetting the rhythm of the team, upsetting the rhythm of the offense? So instead of, trying to alternate series and things like that, because if one guy's hot, you don't really want to pull him, but then he has to sit for a while. Like, can we just do it this way, where one guy kind of has the main piece of the offense and the other guy has kind of the supplemental part of it? Still has to know everything, but doesn't maybe have to worry about quite as much on a game-to-game basis. So we're going to continue that. We're just going to essentially flip it, I suppose. Like Kaysen has had a really good he finished really strong last year, and then he's had a tremendous offseason. So he's going to kind of take over the main piece, and then Boston will be that other guy. Boston's a big, strong dude. Like he's 200 pounds. He's one of the strongest kids on the football team. So that adds kind of an element to that 2 tight end heavy type of personnel package where maybe he can run it a little bit, but we still have some really good weapons on the outside that the other team has to worry about.
Got it. You kind of mentioned it. What is Mettinger's strength that has allowed him to kind of be more of the traditional starter role at the very least.
He just his comfort level and his decision making are head and shoulders above where they were last year. It took him, probably month and a half into the summer to kind of settle down and kind of understand what we're trying to do. And he's really just picked up where he left off last season. I mean, he was like 20 of 22 in the playoff game against Washington. He was on fire. He had a pretty good game against Lincoln. His decision making has been really, really good, really consistent. He's made some difficult reads. Like our defense is a tough one. They're all over the place, flying around, and he has a good handle on being able to see rotations and disguises and all that kind of stuff. Not that Boston struggles with that. It's just Kasen's probably just made a few more plays here and there that have separated him.
Gotcha. Flip over to the defensive side. You got Anthony Petrone, who had 14 sacks last year, all-state defensive lineman. Amazingly, first full season at that spot. So he's just getting going, and he seems like a pretty sharp kid. He was part of the Camp Confidential preview that Brian Mueller put together for Midwest Sports Plus, and for SiouxFallsLive.com, where people can find that. Your defensive coordinator is still Ed Whiting, right?
Correct.
I mean, this is a man who was working under Kim Nelson at Roosevelt, went over to Jefferson when the school changed, and both originally. And then again, when Vince Benedetto left, in both cases, he applied for the head coaching job. He didn't get it. He stays with you. And I'm curious now, after 1 year with him, how you guys work together, and if he's going to do anything differently than be the biggest blitzing coach out there is.
Having previous relationship with Ed, having coached against him for a long time. We have kids similar ages, going through the junior football, softball circuit, all that kind of stuff. So that was a pretty easy, pretty smooth transition. On top of the fact that he's just a really good human being. I mean, obviously disappointed, and who wouldn't be, but he jumped right in and did everything he could to make me feel comfortable and get me up to speed. And it's obviously a great resource for me and someone I can lean on all the time. You have the defense, you do it, run it. And I think our philosophies mesh really well. He wants to constantly attack and cause chaos for the opposing offense. And on our side of the ball, we kind of try to do the same thing for the defense. So I think those two philosophies that we have, they mesh really well, and it's been a really good relationship. As far as new stuff, you'll have to come to the game or watch the game here on Midwest Sports to see maybe, but I can't give away the secrets. But some things are going to stay tried and true. We're going to try to cause chaos, and we're going to attack. We feel really good about the 11 guys we have starting on defense as far as their athleticism and strength and things like that.
I've never seen an Ed Whiting game where they're not constantly putting pressure on the quarterback. And with Harrisburg, they have a couple of possibilities that they, as far as I can tell from our Camp Confidential piece on them, they haven't decided. And they also kind of have a two-headed monster at running back. They've got an offensive line and a defensive line that's experienced. That could be gold early in a high school football season. When we're talking specifically about not quite knowing who's going to be their quarterback, who's going to be their running back, how does that affect a game plan, both for the defense under Ed, but also for the way you're going to call offense on Saturday? Sure.
I think everybody's got questions that going into that first game. You don't want to try to overthink it and overanalyze, who do they have? What are they going to do? It's more about making sure, from our perspective, we can get lined up right. We could communicate. We minimize pre-snap penalties, turnovers on off, those kind of things. You're more worried about making sure you can play your best game. We know it's going to be sloppy. That's what happens that first game. We went back and watched last year's first game, and it was pretty ugly. And that's with 5 seniors on the O-line and things like that. But you got to get the one out of the way so you can kind of see what you have. So it's more about us. You're playing Harrisburg, that they're going to have talented players. They're going to be well coached. They're going to be prepared. So you got to get in the mix. That first couple of series, that first quarter, see kind of maybe what their philosophy is for their team this year, and then you're just going to have to make those adjustments from there.
All right, and then the field. Look, Brandon Valley and Lincoln have played for each of the last 2 state titles, and Lincoln's played in 3 finals in a row. O'Gorman is always kind of in there. You and Harrisburg are always knocking on the door. How do you see the 11 AAA race this year?
I mean, I think it's pretty wide open. It's one of those years where it seems like everybody lost a really good senior class that had played, had some difference makers that had played for a couple years. So they're replacing a lot of leadership and talent. So those teams that have, maybe I'll just use Brody Schaefer for an example, that quality type of leader that has that experience, they're going to have the edge probably early on. But those teams, that can stay healthy and build depth as the season goes on. I look at, our situation and where we're at with the offensive line. If we could kind of just, tread water the first few weeks and just continually improve there, I feel like we'll be one of those teams at the end. Brandon Valley, I'm sure, feels the same way. They just need experience, but they've always got those guys. They just kind of got to get all those moving parts moving at the same time in the same place, and they'll be there. Obviously Lincoln and, Harrisburg is always there too. It's just maybe finding out, how much depth does an O'Gorman have? What is their lines like? That's traditionally, they've been a little undersized. Will they be able to hang in there? Washington had a bounce back year. Can that continue? I think Roosevelt feels really good about their progress and where they're at. They got a lot of experience. So I think it's just, to me, it's really wide open. It's who can stay the healthiest and who's just making consistent progress so that when we hit the playoffs, you're playing your best.
Eric, it's always a pleasure. Looking forward to seeing your team against Harrisburg on Saturday, 6:00 on SiouxFallsLive.com. Definitely on Midwest Sports Plus. That's where we want everybody to go. Midwest Sports Plus. Get the app. Enjoy the games on your TV sets. And Sioux Falls, Lincoln hosting O'Gorman on Friday on those spots, plus on KSFL TV, channel 36 in Sioux Falls, channel 616 if you have Midco cable. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you. Thanks for all the high school coverage.
Oh, we're looking forward to it. Stay right there. And that's it for today's happy hour. For video producer Cordell Wright, for Dan Jackson at SDSU, for Eric Struck at Jefferson, I'm John. Happy hour and cheers.
You need anything else, John?
No, I think I'm good, Greg. I think I'm going to tap out.
All right. Have a good night.